Hey guys, James here. How's it going? I'm making a response to Whitney, aka other 4815's video, Atheists Don't Exist. Now, first of all, you claim that deep down atheists know there's a God. Well, this is quite simply bullshit. I was a Christian quite strongly up until about the age of 12, and whether I prayed or not, it didn't seem to make the blind bit of difference. I never heard God's voice or saw a vision of him. I had him tell me to do anything or not to do anything, and I never saw anything which could be described as divine intervention. Next, you go on to say, well, God's existence is just common sense. And you know what? I actually kind of agree with you on that. But common sense isn't always right. I mean, from an uneducated point of view, if you looked out at the world and you could see that there was, say, 20 million people, for example, and you knew the population was getting larger, it would make sense that at some point in time there was one man and one woman. So then you'd ask yourself, so where did they come from? Well, they don't just appear from thin air. I've never seen that happen. So therefore, God must have made them. And, then you could use that to say, well, where did the world come from? Well, God must have done that. Lightning, thunder, earthquakes, God must have done that. Volcanoes, diseases, etc., etc., etc. But no, we have perfectly logical, rational explanations for all of these events, based on solid logic, experiments, more experiments, and careful peer-reviewed analysis. You then go on to say that atheists hate logic and believe in a fairy tale. Apart from this just being purely nonsense, it's just completely hypocritical when you're basing your beliefs on a 2,000-year-old book. You then say creation declares a creator. Well, yes. If something was created, then it had a creator. But no. We've got plenty of evidence to show that the universe formed through natural processes. I think I know what you're getting at, though. I've seen you in other videos say, well, look at nature, it looks designed. Now, this argument is as bad as the Flat Earth Society. You know, if I looked out the window at the landscape, I could say, well, the Earth looks flat. What you need to do then is to ask another question. So on the flat Earth thing, I would then ask, is it possible for something that looks flat to not be flat? And the answer is, of course, yes. And of course, we have plenty of evidence to show that the Earth is in fact round. If you're talking about what you call creation, then you need to ask yourself, is it possible for something which looks created to have actually formed naturally? And the answer again is yes. There's a program online you can download called 3D Creature Evolution. Using this program, you can simulate evolution. It uses all the same theory in essence. What the program does is it starts off with a small collection of cuboids which have basically simulated muscles, and they'll fluctuate randomly. The program simulates the synapse activity, basically the creature's brain and its behaviour, and also has virtual DNA to show how to compile the polygons together. You can configure options such as population size, mutation rate, survival rate, and all sorts of options like that. And at the very beginning of the program, the creatures that it simulates do not look designed at all. They're a random collection of cuboids. The program can then evaluate each one of those on how well they're able to move, or how well they can swim, how high they can jump, or whatever parameters you want to give them. And after 1,000, maybe 2,000 generations, you get things which actually look designed. You get things which look like frogs. You get things which look like quadrupeds or insects of various kinds, and they look designed. They don't look like they could have formed through a series of random mutations. Yes, the program was designed by a person, but the computer and the program itself has no creative process whatsoever. It just follows simple laws of nature and simple rules to make a simulation. The other thing to bear in mind is that it's an evolution simulator, it's not an abiogenesis simulator. If you want to know how the first cells are formed, that's a completely different topic. Here are a few clips of creatures which have evolved from that program. I have to apologise for the quality of that clip, but hopefully it's at least good enough to prove my point. Looking at those virtual creatures, you'd think that a human had designed them, but no, they evolved on the program following simple laws and ended up with things which are sort of similar to what you see on Earth. Now, that simulation only ran for 2,000 or 3,000 generations for each creature, with very, very small sample sizes. Imagine what you'd end up with if you had sample sizes millions or billions of times larger and over millions or billions of times more generations. You'd end up with some extraordinary sophisticated creatures, much like you'd see on Earth. I'll be doing a far more in-depth video about evolution simulation at some point, and if you could spare a few moments to add a comment or a video response, it would be much appreciated.